So I wanted to just do a video about where this hobby started for me, really. And this tank here is really the reason why I came back to the hobby. So yeah, I think it was 2006, possibly 2007, when I first got into the fish keeping hobby. And I started with a 300 litre aquarium. I went for the biggest one I could afford. I think 300 litres, I think, is 65 gallons. And I didn't know what I was doing. I kept that aquarium for, I think, 3 or 4 years before a house move meant I had to really get rid of everything because I just couldn't take it with me. And I didn't really pick up the fish keeping hobby again until 2022, when I happened to, well, there was two reasons really. One, because I've got a 5-year-old daughter, we were going to a lot of the sea life centres, which for those of you that don't know, in the UK, Sea Life is an aquarium zoo, and they're a chain, so there's quite a few of them across the UK. So through going to these sea life centres, and by chance I happened to stumble upon a YouTube channel called MD Fish Tanks, which of course we are probably all familiar with that now. And I guess through watching those videos it really sort of reignited my feeling of wanting to keep fish again. So I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and in 2023 I purchased this fish tank. Now, I must admit that when I originally kept fish back in 2006, 2007, even though a lot of fish shops sold aquarium plants, there wasn't really that much information about them in terms of how to keep them and, you know, how to grow them and how to keep them alive and everything else. A lot of the information at the time was centered around using CO2 systems. So at the time I didn't keep plants. Now, this is not a video about I like aquarium plants, here's why you need to have them. This is not that video at all. This is more just an explanation as to what got me back into the hobby, and it was aquarium plants or planted aquariums. And it, like I say, it was largely inspired by watching MD Fish Tanks videos and seeing how planted tanks could be accomplished without the need for CO2. And really that's what started it all off. However, in re-entering the hobby with this aquarium, which is a Aqua One Nano 60, I think it is, which is 100 litres. Even though I had all of these ideas about how I was going to set this tank up, it didn't really work that way, and I made a lot of mistakes. Naturally, as part of this hobby is learning and making mistakes, and that's how we improve and develop. So this is the second sort of incarnation of this tank. The first time around, and I'll put some pictures up on the screen, I kept guppies, and I think the first plants I put in here were cryptocrines, I think, but I didn't put any, I pretty much ignored all of the videos I've been watching really, but I put, you know, just gravel in there, and I put the plants in and they all melted away, as could be expected really, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And anyway, fast forward on, so like I said, this is the second version of this tank. I stripped it all down and I redid it, and this is the result that we have today. And this tank has got sort of some sentimental value to me, in the sense that this was the first step back into the hobby for me after being out of the hobby for 13 years, and it really sort of reignited my love for it, and a big part of that is the aquarium plants. Now, as I say, I'm not trying to tell you to keep aquarium plants. It's certainly not that video. However, I just want to tell you, or at least explain, why planted aquariums are the choice of aquarium for me. Now, when I first had my tank in 2006, 2007, the 300 litre, I had a ridiculous mixture of fish in there, you know, from severums to angelfish to tetras, I think I had some African catfish in there called Cynodontis angelicus, which I later found out my tank was way too small for those. But they were great fish, and I had all sorts of fish in there through the duration of that tank. But it was hard work, and I never really sort of, you know, I did all of my water changes and I ran 2 external canister filters on there, and I never really sort of appreciated the, I guess, the balance of an aquarium and how to establish an actual ecosystem, because just putting fish in there and making sure that it's cycled and everything else is not really enough. You know, we could do those water changes, but I didn't really understand the, I guess, the ecology of an aquarium, and sort of understood how fish respond to a balanced aquarium more when everything's kind of working in harmony with each other. So yeah, this obviously was my first tank back in 2023. I now have added another 3 aquariums, and I have another 2 which are empty. Unfortunately, I can't bring them into this house, it's too small, so maybe one day I'll have a bigger place and we can set those up as well. But yeah, my choice now is aquarium plants, and the reason I like them is because there's so much variety for one, there's so much colour, it gives a lot more depth to the tank. As you can see from this one here, you know, I think there's about maybe 6 or 7 different species of plants within this aquarium. And when I look at that, I just think that as much as the fish are in there, it wouldn't be the same if it was set up in a different way. Having the plants in there and having the fish as well just kind of adds another dimension to it. And ultimately, the plants also provide assistance in keeping the tank clean, and you know, they are nature's sort of natural filter. Now, I know that a lot of rivers and lakes and things like that wouldn't necessarily have plants like this, because of course they do require light, and you know, certainly in sort of lower depths of rivers and things like that, there's not that much light penetration. But what we're talking about really is sort of plant mass, in terms of, you know, there's not just aquarium plants which are planted, there's other aquarium plants, which again, I didn't know this, you know, 13 years ago or whatever it was. You know, I didn't know that there was different types of plants. My assumption was that they all had to be planted in the substrate, in the sand. I later realised that they don't. You can, you know, there's lots of different plant varieties which can be glued to wood and rock. So if you've got larger fish, they're not going to uproot them, and those plants will get fed from the water column, from the fertiliser which you put in the water column. So I realised that there's so many different options and so many ways of introducing plants into the aquarium, and ultimately having plants in there, you're going to provide you with a natural filter. It's going to help consume some of that nitrate which is in there. It's never going to take away from water changes, because that's always a beneficial thing to do. But it's almost like having, I suppose the way I like to think of it, it's like having an assistant. It's like having a butler, if you like, that can take care of things. So you can enjoy your tanks a little bit more and feel like they're not just a maintenance fest, that's something which you're just constantly doing. Because with the 300 litre tank I did feel like I was just constantly battling, keeping that, keeping the water chemistry good, and I wasn't enjoying it really. I was having unexplained and random fish deaths. Granted, that could have been because I was keeping fish together which shouldn't be kept together, but I think in large part as well it was that there was nothing else going on there. It was just fish in a tank and with plastic plants, you know, and that was it. There wasn't really that much other interest going on. So yeah, as I say, there's plants you can plant in the substrate, there's epiphytes which you can glue or just place within the woods and the rock. There's also floating plants that you might have. Again, depending on the fish you're keeping, it wouldn't be practical to have plants which you plant in the substrate, but you could certainly try floating plants. And another one which has become quite common in recent years is using house plants, hanging them off the sides of the aquarium. with the roots inside, such as peace lilies and pothos, devil's ivy, monsteras as well, that we've seen as well, amongst lots of other houseplants which you could use. So really I just wanted to do this video just to explain that as much as planted aquariums are not for everybody, it's the reason, or the very core reason, why I got back into fish keeping and why I've now been able to have more tanks than I had in the first place. I guess when I first entered the hobby, as much as I enjoyed it, I wasn't really that into it, I don't think. I think I'm more into it now than I was back then. And it is in large part because of plants. So yeah, this video obviously is not about you should keep aquarium plants and disregarding any other type of fish keeping. It's not that at all. It's just I wanted to kind of do this video and just sort of give you an idea of what I'm about, really, in terms of how I like to keep fish and the style of fish keeping which I follow. As I say, this tank is quite important to me because it's the first tank that I had when I re-entered the hobby. So I think this will always have a special place to me. And yeah, hopefully with the videos that I do and the way I set my tanks up, it might inspire you to try planted aquariums as well. They are very popular. Obviously they've been made more popular by people like MD Fish Tanks and other aquascaping channels. And I think that's going to do it for the video, really. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of little insight into my journey in fish keeping, and you know, I'd like to hear sort of stories about your journey into fish keeping as well. If you'd like to put those in the comments, or you know, even if you don't want to share in the comments, then certainly drop me an email as well. I mean, I'd love to hear your stories about this because everyone's journey into fish keeping is different. We all take, you know, a great pride in our aquariums and how we look after our fish. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.